Good afternoon, Robert Scribbler here, and I don't need these. I just realized I don't need my headphones. That's kind of silly. All right, so what I'm going to do is a quick supplemental of the OBX wave report, where I'm going to talk to you guys about hand placement on the bodyboard and the surfboard. And this is a demonstration to just help out new surfers. But before I get into hand placement on bodyboard and surfboard, I just want to talk about why the bodyboard is helpful for surfing, and especially for a new surfer who hasn't had a lot of ocean experience. So, like, learning how to surf it's very important to get on the surfboard and learn your body placement, learn your point of balance, learn how to bring both your arms and your legs in more toward the center line. Most times when you get out on the surfboard for the first time, you want to do the spread eagle thing to try and balance, because you're on a relatively narrow board in a moving ocean, and so your natural instinct is to spread out to try and keep balance. But as a surfer, what you want to do is you want to bring both your arms and legs more in toward the center line. And that takes a lot of core strength. And what happens is your brain is transmitting your awareness through the surfboard. So your brain is sensing where the surfboard is relative to the motion of the water. And as you bring your arms and the legs in, you're using more of your core to balance and your hips to balance. So when you're laying on the surfboard, you're kind of creating a curl with your body and creating a base placement from your lower chest on down through your upper legs. And that base creates like a mobile pivot for your surfboard that moves through the water. And when you pull your legs in, you're using these muscles here along your, almost like you're a fish, like a lateral line, to hold that surfboard into place. You're using your core, and you're using your oblique muscles, and you're using your back muscles to hold that surfboard along its point of balance as it moves in the ocean. And you don't want to be too far. You don't want to have your nose below the water, but you also don't want to be too far back, and you won't have your nose like sticking up like this, because that's going to impede your paddle power. The ideal position for the front nose of your surfboard is about 2 inches above the water, give or take. And you can, if you get into a calm water position, you can figure out more easily that sweet spot for the center of balance on your surfboard. Now, the bodyboard does help with many of the features of surfing. And of course, bodyboarding is not surfing, but it does provide you with kind of a first step for getting that lateral strength and core strength, because you're placing your body on a board, riding it on a wave, and you're using your core to lean and move along the wave. And if you learn to turn down the face of a wave, to ride it, diagonally down the face as opposed to straight, you're going to use those muscles more, and you're going to get more of a sense of balance. And the bodyboard is going to naturally pull your head back as you look down the wave and create that space below your chest, down into your hips, and down into your legs, where you're providing that platform for the board to control. Now, why am I talking about hips when it comes to hand placement? Hand placement helps to align your hips. So let's get into where you want to place your hands on the bodyboard and where you want to place your hands on the surfboard when you're both doing a duck dive and popping up. Now, for the bodyboard, it's pretty simple. The main point of control on the bodyboard is the front edge. So you want to, when you ride a wave, you want to have your hands on the front edge of the bodyboard. And this way you can move your body and angle the board. You can change the position of your hands, so this isn't strict, but you're going to tend to get the most out of having your hands on the front edge. Now, there are some situations where you want to change, where you want to put your hand on the side. Say, for example, you wanted to dig in a rail, or say you wanted to do a barrel roll. You know, maybe if you're in a barrel roll position, you might even want to have both hands on the side to help torque the board. And if you're going to move your hands on the bodyboard, you're going to want to move one hand at a time, you know, maintaining that grip as you move along the face of the wave, right? Bodyboard's very versatile. There's no strict right or wrong for hand placement, but generally you'll get the most control out of placing your hands on the leading edge or near the leading edge at the front of the board. Back here, further back, you have less control, and you're not getting yourself into a good body position. If you're placing your hands on the front of the board, you're naturally getting into that cobra position that is going to help you maintain control of your board through the proper hip placement, right? Okay, so now let's talk about a surfboard. And I'm going to go ahead and get the Lost Rocket. All right, so surfboard, when you ride a surfboard on a wave, you are riding it in a standing up position. But when you are paddling the surfboard and when you're catching a wave, you're riding the surfboard in a prone position. So hand placement is important on the surfboard for a number of aspects. One being when you duck dive the surfboard, and two being when you pop up the surfboard, or pop up from a prone to a standing position on the surfboard. Since you're not staying in the prone, you're not going to, when you're riding a wave, you're not going to be having a grip on the surfboard, and it's actually not really a good idea to try to grip the surfboard when you are transitioning from a prone to a standing position. But one time when you want to have a grip on the surfboard is when you're duck diving through a wave. So hand placement for a duck dive is usually relatively far forward on the board, not necessarily up near the nose, although there's some people that like to duck dive with their hands near the nose. I like to duck dive with my hands near the mid front, and this gives me control. When you duck dive, it's like, you know, you're pushing the board down into the water. You're helping with your back foot to angle the board, and then as you go under the wave, you're angling the board down beneath the cone of force of the board, of the wave, and then as the cone of force moves over you, you're angling the board up. With your hands on the board, you can do pretty cool things like once you're underwater, under the wave, you can kick your feet to add thrust to move you underneath the wave. So the movement of the duck dive being like this, and your hand placement being on the front third of the board to help control the board as you duck dive. Now, duck diving is not surfing, it's a whole nother feature. When you are standing up and moving from a prone position to a standing position, you want to have your hands flat on the deck of the board near the front, but underneath your elbows so you can get that push for your pop-up. And you don't want to grab the board. I know it's tempting to grab the board because you're on a moving wave, and especially if the waves are fast, you kind of want to grab the board to like force the angle, resist it. Place your hands flat on the surfboard. And the reason why you're going to resist grabbing the board is that actually ruins your balance. If you place your hands flat on the board, you pop your chest up. You get into like a cobra position as you move your feet and look forward down the face of the wave. Your brain is going to give you the information it needs to move along the face of the wave, and it's also going to help your balance a lot. If you're looking down at the board, you're not going to have the information you need to balance. So get the angle of your board right, place your hands flat on the deck of the board, push up into your pop-up position, release the hands, right? So that's a good quick summary of hand placement. The bodyboard, hands near the nose. You can grab the nose itself, that's going to help your posture on the board and your control. Or you can choke it back just a little bit if you want to do some radical moves on the board, or just add some curves, some carves into the wave, that kind of thing. And for the surfboard, hand placement for a duck dive on the rails or near the nose of the board on the rails. Hand placement for popping up as you descend along the face of the wave, fly on the deck. Right? You might want to tease it a little bit. There's little tweaks to it. For example, if you're left foot forward, you might want to put one hand a little bit further forward, your left hand a little bit further forward, right hand a little bit back, help you with the angle, help you with the timing. But generally, you want your hands flat on the deck as you're dropping in on the face of the wave, right before you're dropping in, as you're making that angle, as you're starting to fall. As you start to fall, hands on the deck, pop up, release, maybe get back into a nice little archer position to help your balance. Okay, so a longer than expected discussion on hand placement on both the surfboard and the bodyboard. Hopefully good help for you guys. Look forward to seeing you guys out in the water. Thank you for